The Isaiah Factor Uncensored starts right now.
Today, we honor the life and legacy of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a known trailblazer for civil rights and racial equality. And welcome to the Factor Uncensored. Thank you for joining us tonight for this special edition. Now, long before his final moments, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy was stamped on the nation. Tonight, we discuss how he helped shape the United States into what we see today. We start with talking about his dream. Now, a lot of people could probably repeat his speech word for word, but have we actually realized his dream? Let's bring in Bishop James Dixon to the conversation.
Have we realized the dream of Dr. King that he had for society, not just Black people, but for society in general, as of yet?
Isaiah, thank you for having me. The quick answer to that is no, we have not realized the dream. I think we're still reaching for it, and I want to encourage us to continue doing that. But the fact that there is such a divide, racial divide, and cultural divide in our nation today in 2023 says, no, we're far from reaching the dream of Martin King, where we sit down at the table of brotherhood in order to communicate and collaborate on to solving problems that we all face. We're not doing that as a nation. We're polarized politically, we're polarized racially, and that's hurting the well-being of our total community as we speak right now.
What does it take to get around those obstacles that we face in this country?
Well, I think it's important. Dr. King envisioned us as the beloved community, right? A community of brothers and sisters. We have not changed that. We are a nation of polarization. We don't see each other as brothers and sisters. And because we don't begin with that basic fundamental truth that we all are one human fabric, we are a part of the same cloth. Until we start there, we're not going to get this right. And I think we're not having that discourse enough. The public discourse is filled with vitriol and hatred and animosity and anger. There's got to be some forgiveness and some constant dialogue. And we've seen it recently, right? We don't really have serious discussions until there is a George Floyd moment, until there's a Breonna Taylor moment, until there is a Chavez moment. Someone gets shot, someone gets killed. It's a tragedy. You don't solve long-term problems reacting to tragedy. You solve long-term problems projecting what could be and should be what ought to be. And that's how we heal, we'll heal this nation. We've got to really come together as one family with one future.
What can we do as individuals to play our role, to play our part? Obviously, if everyone's doing what they need to do, then there'll be some cohesion and unity down the road. I'm not quite sure we will ever get the utopia that some are hoping for, but what can we do as individuals to make a difference?
Well, success in a large scale happens in small pieces, right? So all of us have to take a slice of the community and say, I'm going to affect change in my community, in my neighborhood, in my school. I'm going to affect change in my community. And that's the way you start. You can't, you don't swallow the ocean, but can you solve this problem in a micro? And it means being informed, first of all. So many people are not even informed as to what the issues are. They don't understand racial disparities, education disparities, healthcare disparities, economic disparities. People don't understand those realities. Home ownership disparities. All of this exists today, and these are very real problems with real analytics and real solutions. But you got to understand it, you got to study it, and then begin to intelligently address those issues in your local context. And if all of us would fix a street, a neighborhood, a community, a school, then we'll be on our way to making the community and our cities better.
Now, when it comes to social media, I mean, I'm sure Dr. King would be just shocked at social media and how we treat each other on social media. And it takes away interpersonal relationships. It's just a person you're spewing venom at. For those who spend a lot of time on social media being hateful, how would you deal with that in order to change those people or take yourself out of the picture?
Well, I think it's important. Words do matter, right? We say, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That's not true. Spewing hate and venom on social media continues to pour fuel on the flames of distrust and on the flames of hatred. Quite frankly, we just need to be more responsible as adults. Because what you're talking about, Isaiah, unfortunately, we're not talking about children, right? We're speaking of adults with jobs and families, and yet they are preoccupied with negative messaging on social media and as if it's okay. And that's because that's what's raising new generations of the same mindset. We really got to be responsible and think, what am I going to solve by spewing hatred and venom towards another human being? Nothing. We're going to add to the problem. And I think Dr. King would be appalled to see the kind of language and messaging that happens on social media all day long, every day, again, by adults. And many of these people claim to be people of faith, people who love God, and yet they are showing hatred toward their brothers and sisters. It just doesn't work.
Bishop, in the past, many of us have believed, some have said, all it takes is time for the old generation to die off, and then racism will no longer be a problem. But you can go on social media, you can look at news reports where young white people, you see them wearing blackface at a costume party or saying the N-word to their classmates. So is it a vicious cycle that we could ever get out of, or what does it take to get there?
Well, I will say this, racism is a transferable disease from one generation to the next. And it takes racists to raise racists, right? And so if we look at what's happening in children, I promise you, you can trace that to an adult example and role model. And unfortunately, these are negative role models that are inspiring this kind of hatred. We've got to address that at the parent level.
Now, the goal of remembering the Trailblazer is to inspire people not just to talk about Dr. King's dream, but to follow through with action that helps build the community King spoke about so often.